Areas in and around Johannesburg which experienced community protests this morning. A number of areas, including Eldorado Park, Freedom Park, Dieplook and Meadowlands in Soweto, saw communities blocking roads with burning tyres and rocks. A video was earlier uploaded on social media showing protests this morning. Areas affected include those areas as well as Pimville, Meadowlands, Freedom Park and Brown Fisherville. It's understood that the protests are against prepaid electricity in the Soweto area. Roads are reported to be open now as the debris has been moved. Johannesburg motorists are being advised to express extreme caution on the roads. Well, let's see what the situation is in one of those areas. Our reporter Criselda Lewis is on the scene in Eldorado Park. Criselda, what's the situation right now?
Well, Francis, where I'm standing right now is where more rocks were placed in the road a few moments ago, and the cars that you're seeing there just managing to come past here on the Golden Highway that separates Freedom Park as well as Eldorado Park. Just a few moments ago before we came to air, the police said also, you'd see that car right there, which has just stopped the police vehicle. From towards the back of me, there are some people or community members who also managed to place some debris in the middle of the road, and some cars were not able to go past there. This police vehicle, which is going to come into shot just now, doing more patrolling, trying to ensure that this road, which is usually very busy during peak hour times, we're expecting that traffic at about 3, 4, 5 o'clock this afternoon, and police are really having their hands full trying to ensure that residents who've been blockading this road since 3 o'clock this morning don't continue to do so. But what they're really struggling with at this time is that every time police do remove the debris from here, then they would move to another area where there are just pockets of violence that flare up again, and then they continue to blockade the road. As you can see here behind me, some of the debris and some of the tyre that remains burning just behind me. So police are moving from different areas to areas where, when they move, for example, to Eldorado Park, in Freedom Park, you'd have a situation where there is violence that is taking place and more roads that are being barricaded at this time. Towards me, in the front of me there, I'm not sure if our camera person, I don't think he'll be able to see that shot right there, but the challenge at this stage is that police have to move from area to area to try and ensure that residents do not begin protests in the various parts, because you would recall that since this morning, several parts of the south of Johannesburg were affected. Eldorado Park, Freedom Park, Lenasia South, as well as areas leading up to the Grasmere Toll Plaza. So police at this stage still trying to get residents to calm down. They're saying they're not going to until someone in authority comes to speak to them. I just heard now from the Gauteng provincial government, it seems, that the new MEC for Human Settlements might be coming to this area. Know that throughout this morning, residents have been calling for someone within the higher echelons of the Gauteng provincial department to come and address them. And I do understand now that the Gauteng Premier David Makhura has given some sort of instruction for the new Gauteng Human Settlements MEC to come to this area to address some of the concerns. As you would know, Francis, top of that list is the issue of land as well as housing, and of issues relating to housing. Serious allegations of corruption have dogged the allocation process of housing in these areas.
Yeah, and prepaid electricity apparently on some people's agenda as well. Criselda, very quickly, if they are moving from area to area, could we see a flare-up of intense violence or disruptions again in that peak hour later today?
Well, we certainly cannot rule that out at this stage, Francis, as we're seeing now this afternoon that while police try to remove the debris from the road, the target certainly seems to be the peak hour traffic. Recall that when the late communication was sent out last night indicating that the Grasmere Toll Plaza would be targeted, as well as some of the key provincial roads here in Gauteng, in Johannesburg, and that certainly seems to be the case for this afternoon, because this is one of the major roads. The Golden Highway certainly does does link some of the key areas here in Johannesburg. You have your Freedom Park, your Eldorado Park, as well as heading as far as Lenasia South. And this road is usually jam-packed during peak hour traffic. And we saw cars that were targeted this morning, stones that were being thrown at cars, and the traffic really backed up this morning. So we're really expecting this afternoon similar scenes to take place if police are not going to bring in more enforcement to try and ensure that it does not happen, because the scenes that you're seeing here behind me, this taxi, the cars themselves trying to maneuver through some of the broken glasses, some of the stones that were what remains of the stones that were thrown in the middle of the road. So I think this afternoon, if no contingency plan is put in place in terms of some reaction from the Johannesburg Metro Police Department, it's really going to be a tricky situation during peak hour traffic this afternoon.
All right, thank you very much, Griselda Lewis, and we'll continue to monitor what is going on in those southern parts of Johannesburg. Griselda Lewis from the Golden Highway.